Welcome. Hey, thanks for coming on to what we're affectionately calling Step to the Line. Kind of a cool name Ricky came up with when I brought the show to him. And we're here with a legend in our sport, Steve Mocco from Mocco Wrestling Academy, an American Top Team. If you don't know, four-time prep state champ, four-time national prep champ, also a three-time junior judo champ, Beast of the East champ twice, two-time NCAA champ at two different powerhouses, Iowa and Oak State. Dan Hodge Trophy winner, which is the best college wrestler in wrestling when you get that, and one of our own USA Olympians. So welcome, Mr. Mocco. I appreciate you coming on with us. And how are you today? I'm sure you're being affected, but I hope the family and everybody's doing well.
Oh, we're doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Just seeing everybody in the sport and kind of bringing everybody to light has been fun for me. So I know Ricky, pretty cool having Steve Mocco on here.
Oh man, it's like I told you, it's like Christmas morning for me, man.
Yeah. So one thing I know, we just received word that some wrestler named Spencer Lee may be coming on next week. So he's a pretty good wrestler too, right?
Yeah, he's all right. He's okay.
Well, Steve, talk about Mocco Wrestling Academy and American Top Team and what you're doing down there for. Obviously, you have a youth program and you train all the way up through adults, and you actually have pro guys that you train. So talk about your programs down there.
Yeah, we have a full MMA team. You know, like a lot of pro fighters, most of the organizations. We have a bunch of amateur teams. We have a gym for just memberships, training like different skills. You know, and then we started a wrestling club there a few years back. It's been a lot of fun. You know, like being able to get back into sport wrestling and working with kids in the area and stuff.
And that can't hurt building the foundation of your pro team, because these kids learning to wrestle then come up and transition after school. It's got to be great to kind of breed people, huh?
Yeah, man. It's really cool when you see the kids start to, you know, as they get older now, they start to come back home, and some of them will come in and work out. The pro guys, especially college or older than college age kids, will come back and train with some of our guys. You know, we haven't had a club kid yet start fighting. You know, I'm sure we will eventually. Just most of we only started the club like 4 or 5 years ago, so most of them are still either in college or that age. You know.
Yeah, well, what about Sal Guerriero? Was he one of the?
Sal has, but I mean, he works the club. He's a coach, but
okay.
When he was in school, when he was like a senior, you know, he wrestled Lugo, right, in the finals.
Yeah, it was a 1-point match. Yep.
We hadn't started the club yet. I mean, I knew Sal then, like watching him wrestle. I'm real close with his family.
Yeah.
But I was still kind of training, and we didn't pull the trigger on it yet.
Gotcha.
Wow. So, I mean, I guess let's talk wrestling, right? I mean, I'd love to hear you talk about that Iowa story where I heard you tell it on another show, and I'd love for you to bring that to our room and talk about that day. That seemed like it was pretty fun.
Which one?
Where the suspension at Michigan State?
Two different. Well, I guess they're kind of related, the stories, but there are two different ones. They're like the suspension is when I kicked the kid, right?
Yeah.
That was at Michigan State. I'm thinking of NCAAs. That was later on. No, yeah, that was Michigan State. Yeah, I was wrestling a kid there in Michigan State. Real nice guy. We were down 5 team points in the match. We gave up a couple falls in the match. I know a couple guys on our team got pinned that were favorites, but we were down. We weren't supposed to lose to Michigan State. I think we were ranked kind of ahead of them, but so I wrestled the kid. I get the kid on his back after trying to put him on his back for a long, you know, the whole match. You know, pretty much threw the kitchen sink at the kid trying to finish it. You know? And I didn't pin him, but he was flat. But the referee didn't call it, man. The guy that you guys need to talk to is that referee. You know, I'd like to know like where he's at now.
Get his name. We will get him.
All right.
Yeah.
But he didn't call the fall. You know. And then,
how about having him and you on together?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, well, I think you said you were
you guys know how long ago that match was? You know what year it was?
2003, maybe?
2002.
Okay,
man,
yeah,
a long time ago.
Wow, 18 years, Steve.
It's crazy because like every time Flo puts it up there, it feels like it just happened, you know?
Right.
I don't know where they found the video for that, you know, like, but they kind of got it.
That guy was stuck like Chuck, man. He was flatter than a board.
I mean, I tell people that. I'll say that all the time.
No, he
was. I guess it's perspective and everything else. But it was bedlam after that. Right after they didn't call the fall, and I kicked the kid, and then.
So what happened? They didn't call the fall. You the whistle blows. You win the match. What happened? You just like kind of just lost your shit and just said screw it and booted him in the ass. What happened?
Did you saw the video?
Yeah, of course I did. This is for the people that haven't.
Yeah, the kid. I mean, like all the ins and outs of it are when I said that too on the Flo interview, I was saying that from memory. You know what I mean? Like like that interview that they got me talking. That's me at American Top Team at like 11:30 at night. I mean, we did like a 4-hour interview.
Yeah, the whole thing is turned off. The lights are dark.
Yeah. And then they found up all the video, but I mean, like just out of memory, almost like 15 years later, it was pretty.
Wow.
I was good with it, you know. But no, then the kid that we you know, like obviously we were like yelling at each other and stuff, and then I did boot the kid, and then the whole place went crazy. You know, they were throwing stuff. And
you said your coach came in, he was like full of blood, and you were
covered
like,
in blood.
You're like, yo, that's it. Let's go back out there.
I really thought that like. We like, cause we were waiting in the hallway, the whole team, you know, I'm sure they were going to do like a police escort to our van, you know?
Oh my God.
But we really were like, what's going on? Cause like the way the crowd erupted and stuff, but it was our own guy that hit the coach, you know?
Wow.
Our own guy kind of like shrugged away and it kind of caught the coach the right way and he cut his chin.
I got a question. So, when you would watch Cain Velasquez kill people in the octagon, would you go, man, I pinned his ass at Fargo?
Man, no, but Cain's tough. Cain was very tough in college too. Man, we had some really close matches in college.
He was a JUCO national champ first, wasn't he?
Yep, he's a JUCO national champ. He wrestled for Arizona State after JUCO. And I think he took third in the NCAAs.
See, that's the thing, Dan. You know, we've spoke before about different levels, you know, D1, 2, 3, NAIA, JUCO. You know, college wrestling, although, yeah, D1 is the toughest, obviously. You've got the top blue chippers around. But any level of college wrestling, tell me if you agree with this, Steve, any college wrestling is tough, man. It just is. And just because you're JUCO or NAIA doesn't mean you're not at that level of maybe a D1 guy. There's a lot of guys that go NAIA or Division III or JUCO for reasons. There's reasons that they're there. Maybe they didn't have the grades to get into Arizona State or where they wanted to go. So they started a lower level. And I don't know if that's what Cain's deal was, why he started there. But, you know, look, he won a JUCO national championship. He came back, he took third in the big show. So I mean,
well, he hasn't had a bad career.
we talk about it all the time, Ricky. We talk about it all the time at the gym. Like, the guy's like a D2 champ or a D3 champ or even JUCO, whatever, you know, like whatever it is. Like they're going through the same things as a D1 champ. Like their body's taking the same mileage. They're getting into the same scrambles, the same hard matches. The only difference really is, I guess.
The room.
Not as many people maybe follow it, right? It's not as glorified, so it makes it that much, you know, like as far as a guy coming into MMA, for me, it like, I mean, obviously it's great when you have a big, huge name come over and a superstar that way, but like a D2 champ or a JUCO champ, like they kind of had the same experiences
Right.
They just did it because they really wanted to do it. You know, they really were motivated to do it. So I mean, it's
Yep.
it's impressive for me. What,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
I may be incorrect about this, but I remember reading a story about one of the greatest, and you guys would have to correct me. I think he was in California or something, and he didn't do anything in college or high school, and then his last year he got to the state qualifier, and then he went on to college and won multiple NCAAs or something. And I can't remember the story I saw.
I don't know who that. I don't know who that is.
I'd have to look it up, but I was reading about that, and they were like, man, in high school he struggled, and then his senior year he kind of turned it up a little bit and had a good run there, and then he got put in a good position. I mean, coaching matters. You get around the right coach that can work you the right direction in any sport, and you can really excel. And I guess he excelled. So, and it's great. And I was talking about this yesterday, Steve. There's, you talk to people from like the states of Ohio and Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and they're like, I started at 4 years old. And you talk to a lot of guys that have had similar success out of like Florida, and they're like, I didn't start till 7th grade. They pulled me out of the hallway. Do you think it matters where you start, or do you think it matters how you your work ethic and how you're coached and who you're around?
yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different paths to having success, right? Especially in wrestling and probably more so wrestling than a lot of other sports, right? There's a lot of different paths to having success. You could find success through a lot of different styles, like you could see it a lot. You just have to find what works for you, and that could take time, so I don't think it matters all too much when you start. I think it's important to figure out what's going to build on your positives, right? Learn how to succeed, and that could take time. That could take time. You see it with a lot of wrestlers who start real young, and they maybe struggle, and then they find the right fit for them and the right style for them, and all of a sudden something clicks, and then they start having a tremendous amount of success.
That's awesome.
And you see other guys, right? They start later on,
and they
so
have yeah.
I don't think it matters. I think it matters that it matters mentally when you really ready to figure it out. To figure out how you could succeed.
Yeah.
What has wrestling meant to you?
I mean, for me, it's kind of it's been pretty much my life. I started at a young age. I trained for a long time. Later on, I started coaching. Now, I mean, pretty much it's what I do. It started out as something I spent a lot of time doing, and then all of a sudden, like years down the road, like it goes quick. Like that match, man, that match. 2002 feels like it was just yesterday every time I see that video. But I mean, like after a while, it just starts becoming something that you do, something that you're a part of, and you wind up identifying with it.
And that's it's amazing. And that's what and I tell my son, and I want kids to see that you can be very successful being a wrestler, and it kind of gives you a hell of a foundation. And I know I've got a question. What was it like? And I'm sorry, Ricky, if you want to talk, just tell me to shut up.
I'll jump in. Don't worry about it.
But what was it like going from like the heartlands of the Midwest and wrestling for an Iowa to go into like the down home southern of Oklahoma State? Talk about the difference of, I mean, obviously 2 legendary programs, and you had the blessing to be able to wrestle for both.
Yeah, they're both great programs.
Was the culture similar at both?
The only difference I would say was Iowa is like pure Midwest,
Sure.
and Oklahoma State has like a little bit of a Southern undertow to their just general culture, right? Their
Right.
wrestling culture was extremely similar, like way more similar than anybody really talks about. Like they both train hard, they both want to win, they both, do the extra things that put them in a position to win. Like but I would say generally, just like people walking around the street and just normal life, there is a bit of a Southern culture to Oklahoma that Iowa didn't have. And Iowa has more of a Midwest culture, which is its own kind of thing, which is kind of cool too, you know.
Right.
So when you're walking into like Iowa, as far as the fans, is it like walking into the old vet in Philadelphia?
Yeah, yeah. No, Iowa fans, like their fans are man, they love wrestling. You know, they're really into it, and there's not much else going on out there, and they definitely are passionate about it.
Yeah,
They'll
I've
let you
heard.
know too if you're on the other side of the coin.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've heard from a few people that when you wrestle for the University of Iowa and you're in the starting lineup and you're a known name at that point, you're actually a household name in the state of Iowa. That when you guys are out and about, you're almost treated like like movie stars. Like people like run up to you, ask you for your autograph. Is that the case? Was that true? Did that happen a lot?
Yeah, I think that the people are really into sports there. You know, they don't really have a pro team.
Right.
The university is kind of the main show in town, and people are passionate about it. You know, and then you put on the winter. You know, there's not much going on in Iowa in the winter. You know,
Right.
it's so I mean they really are they're really into wrestling. You could see it in their the way they cover the sport. You know, like it's probably a lot different at Iowa. If you just took the Iowa City Gazette, right? Let's say the Iowa City Gazette, and you compared it to like I don't even know what would be a local paper in Manhattan for like a Columbia wrestling team or Philadelphia, right?
Yeah.
Drexel. I mean, the way that they cover the sport is just like very impressive. You know, I would say Stillwater is the same way. You know, Stillwater, you notice the same way. I guess the big difference is maybe the amount. Yeah, and I would yeah, you are kind of like Iowa City. You do feel kind of like a superstar when you're.
Have you stayed involved? Have you stayed involved at all with those two programs?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone up to Iowa City like a few times for training camp. I moved back to Iowa City after this whole thing. I spent like 2 years there as kind of like I guess a club athlete. Um, After I graduated from Oklahoma State, I moved to Colorado and I trained at the training center. And then when Terry Brands went back to Iowa City, I went with him. Stayed there for about a couple of years, and then I kind of injured my knee, so I took a coaching job at Lehigh. So I was back there kind of as a I guess I wouldn't say a coach, but an older guy helping out the team. You know.
And
Was Zach Ray there when you were at Lehigh? Was he a guy that you were working with?
Yeah, he was. The 2 years I coached at Lehigh was his junior and senior year.
Oh,
the year
nice.
he won it, and the year he took second.
Yeah, he was tough, man. He was tough. What's he doing these days? Do you know?
I believe. I mean, I believe he's coaching at Lehigh. He's kind of like the big man coach. He wrestled for the LVAC for a few years. I don't think he's competing anymore in freestyle, but he's a full-time coach now on staff at the university.
they got
cool.
they got a great kid in Hines, huh?
I was just gonna say Malik Hines from Osceola is at Lehigh, so he'll get to benefit from Zach Ray if he works with any of the smaller guys. But
Coach, do you? I know a lot of clubs. So I don't know. Kids are on vacation with their parents. You welcome them to come down and get in there. Do you have an open door policy, or do they have to be members?
Yeah, we have a lot of kids come in from you know, we live in this awesome place, you know, that people come for vacation. So we do get a lot of kids down from, and it's great for our kids, you know, it's great for our local kids to, you know, wrestle with some guys from New York that are here for the week, you know, New Jersey, I mean, any state, we get them from all over. We just had, right before the quarantine, we had this family from Michigan that came down with their two kids, but from time to time, especially during the holidays, we'll just get a bunch of drop-ins from all different states coming to the club to train and stuff. It's pretty cool.
let me ask you this, Steve. So when you first started the club a few years, how many years is it now that it's been going?
I think we started on Sundays 5 years ago, and now, you know, weekdays and just like a full schedule, we're about 4 years in.
So my question is, with the club, do you find that you're getting a lot of cooperation from the high school coaches as far as them sending them to you, or I wouldn't say allowing, but I guess I would have to say allowing, because a lot of coaches, you know, kind of have some egos and they don't want their kids training with anyone else. why a coach would not want their kid training with you is beyond me. But do you find that you're getting a lot of cooperation as opposed to, the coaches not wanting their kids to go there?
I mean, I feel like the club system in Florida, maybe just South Florida, is like, I'm comparing it to like a New Jersey or Pennsylvania, where a club system is established. High school coaches know that in the off season they're going to go to a club to train with their kids. You know what I mean? Like,
yep, absolutely.
Not train them in the school. I feel like since we started the club, you're seeing a lot more of that. I don't know, but like our club in particular, kind of like, because we're not affiliated with a high school, maybe.
Right.
Or affiliated with any school, we tend to have more youth numbers than high school kids.
Okay.
But it seems like in the off season is when our numbers go up in high school. In season, we kind of let them do their thing. Like it's hard for them to get from, unless they're in the really close surrounding towns, which those teams will see. We'll see like Coral Springs teams and certain teams in like
Douglas.
Douglas, the guys like this that could make it right after practice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they have a tournament coming up, like we definitely don't put any expectations on the high school in season.
Right.
We're getting to the point. I think when we first started the club, most of the teams in this area trained in season. Off season, they played other sports. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like occasionally, some kids trained year round, and those were the standout kids that did really well.
Hey,
right?
can you just, my son has to go to virtual class, but he wanted to say hi. There he is.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah. He's the one that taught me all about you. I showed him. He's like, yeah, I watched the video.
Nice.
Any questions for him? Hey, he just woke up. He's a teenager. He's like, I got to go to school. But he wanted to say hi. And you let the cat out?
So Steve, you met your wife at Iowa or Oklahoma State?
We met at Iowa.
At Iowa,
Yeah.
and she too was a Division I athlete, right?
Yeah.
What did she do? What was her sport?
She did track. She did
Nice.
heptathlon. It's like the multi-event, and then her she did 200 hurdles.
Wow. So needless to say, your kids have some pretty good athletic genes going on there. They should be okay. They should be okay.
So, we'll see. I don't know.
Hey, what would you say
the
about,
boys are doing great.
Yeah, they're doing good.
What would you say about so you wrestled and grew up in like the heartland of wrestling in New Jersey, and now you've been growing Florida wrestling. Where do you think Florida wrestling has gotten to on comparison to the levels of the larger states, and where can it go?
And I think Florida's like doing awesome, man. Like I think like since I've lived in Florida, and I'm sure it started way before that, but since I lived in Florida, it seems like wrestling is definitely growing a lot, and seems like it's heading in a great direction. Like I think some of the things that could help maybe is like getting kids out a little younger. In not obviously we have a lot of great youth coming out of Florida for sure. I think we're on par. The youth kids coming out, with any states. Like if we had to pick our best kid and they pick their best kid, I think we can compete with any state.
Absolutely. I've said that for years. Our best versus anybody else's best, we're right there, and we've proven that time and time again. It's just we're not as deep as a Pennsylvania.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if we could get the youth kids out, like general numbers, get the general numbers out and have the depth. I think that would help our depth. So like, how many kids, Ricky, you think in Palm Beach County and Broward, like these two counties, their first year wrestling's their freshman year in high school?
A lot. Too many.
Yeah. If you had to put a percentage on it, just a ballpark,
I would probably say at least 50. At least.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. So that's what I would think too.
It's a high number. It's a high number.
It's a high number. I think the level of wrestling, the level of officiating, the level of coaching would go up if that number was, 25. If 75% of the kids wrestled in junior high, and then
Yep.
then went on. You know.
Well, and let's
It's
talk about some of the best kids that are at these prep schools, and they're all Florida kids.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
For
mean,
sure.
I mean, look, a few years back, a third of Blair's starting lineup was from Florida. You had
Yeah.
Singletary, you had Zach Sherman, you had Julian Ramirez, you had Nick Moscow. I mean, that's 4 kids right there. And there's another
Yeah.
one that I'm forgetting that was there. Oh, Leo Tarantino from Tampa Prep. I mean, 5 guys out of Florida. That speaks volumes.
they got a pretty good kid there right now that's like a 7th grader or something, or 8th grader, and
Oh yeah,
it was already a world champ.
yeah.
That's McGowan. Is
Yeah,
it McGowan?
Mark
Yeah.
Anthony McGowan. Yep.
Does
Yep.
right? No,
Yep.
we have kids there that are like, I mean, you know, like Florida's a big state, but our youth wrestling is you see it now with, like, you know, I'm involved with Team Florida and freestyle and Greco and
Yep.
USA Wrestling, and you see it a lot. Like our kids coming out like wrestled freestyle a year, you know, and they go on a schoolboy team and they go like 7-2, you know, like it's really impressive. Like we have the athletes, we have the kids that want to wrestle, a good competitive drive, and they commit to it. And
We just had one of the what is the large club that we just had from New Jersey that's coming down here?
Oh, Scorpions.
oh yeah,
So I
yeah,
mean,
Scorpions.
great to
Yep.
see. I'm sure that's great to see clubs like that moving into the state. That's just going to grow the sport. And it seems like you guys, as far as club owners in wrestling, and I've just learned this over the last couple of years. It's like you guys welcome everybody. It's like a family. It's not like
Oh yeah.
you guys. I never hear like, oh no, you can't come train at our gym. Stay away. Like if you're here and you want to come roll around, man, you're welcome. It's like family. Am I incorrect in saying that?
No,
That's what
you're
I
right.
noticed.
You're right. Yeah. No,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
see it a lot, all up and down the levels. Pretty cool.
Wrestling is a tight knit community, and I think the main reason for that is because of that common bond of the grind. You know, when you're a wrestler and you meet another wrestler, you guys just know what you've been through, and it's just instant bond. It's an instant respect, and I think that's where the tight knit comes from, just from the instant respect. Because wrestling is like no other sport out there. I mean, it's just not, man. It's a totally different animal, and so you have instant respect there. So
Yeah,
that's
and
why.
Ricky, I was talking to, was it Alan? Either Alan Held yesterday or Goog. And I said, I've seen kids over the last couple of years that are the best football player on the high school team, or the best, whatever. They've been the best at whatever sport they're in their entire life, bar none, they're great. And they decide they want to come into the wrestling room and they want to wrestle. And now we're 5 matches in and they've been pinned in a total of 2.5 minutes, you know, all together. And their dad is upset, and the kid's like, man, and I'm just looking at him going, yeah, welcome to wrestling, because you
Yeah.
can be the greatest at anything you want to do, but when you come here, you're average until
Yeah.
you.
Till they learn a little bit. So, Steve, talk a little bit about what your position is with Florida Amateur Wrestling, FAWA, and USA Wrestling, and where you're at right now, where FAWA is going, and what they're doing right now. Talk a little bit about that.
So we had to cancel our folk style states. You know, it was supposed to be the week after the high school
High
states.
school, yeah.
And now we've postponed our freestyle and Greco season, you know, due to this whole thing. And we're all just sitting by. You know, we're sitting by and trying to figure out what this is going to look like when the smoke settles. You know,
Right.
like that's what everybody's interested in. We got some great people that are coming up with ideas. And we're real curious, and we're open to what anybody else thinks. You know, like if anybody has any ideas of how we could get this thing up and running, and to put out a good format, a good tournament series, or I don't know what it's going to look like. You know, like this is something that as a community we got to come together and figure it out. And I mean, who I think this will affect our sport a lot. This whole thing that's going on now, even the high school season. You know, like how do they go about having their matches? Is it no fans? Is it, you know, in wrestling room, one weight class at a time?
Wow.
This is the things that you know, we're trying to look at, I guess. You
And I was
know,
asking Ricky, and I would ask you, Ricky, and you. I know that some clubs have said they can do kind of one-on-one privates right now, just because it's just one-on-one. But nobody knows what the new norm is going to be. Like, is it going to be parents have to stay in the car, only kids can come in the gym? Is it 10 kids at a time can do practice? Is it only going to be one-on-ones? Are we going to have to test temperatures before people come in? I mean, what does it look like? Are the days of 300 kids at a Rumble done?
I think that's
yeah,
still a mystery at this point. We're like Steve said, we kind of have to wait for the dust to settle, the smoke to clear, and kind of figure it out. I mean, I don't see anything happening. I mean, within the next month or two, at least. I don't know.
yeah, that's what it's looking that way. I mean, I think, you know, like obviously, you know, I think USA Wrestling. I mean, I could speak on that as you know, like all the way up through kids nationals, which is kind of like the end of the freestyle season, has been postponed. You know, as of now. You know, now does that mean that we could be up and running again before that, and they could, you know, reschedule that event? Maybe, but you know, it's hard. It'd be hard for, you know, Florida guys, even though we always bring a bunch of them to Wisconsin to wrestle.
Yeah.
But you know, like this opens up a, you know, we got kids that love to wrestle, that love to compete in the state, and we're just gonna try and figure out ways to get them exposure and to grow for another year in freestyle and Greco. Whether it's a lot of in-state rumbles or training camps with mini tournaments at the end of them, or maybe club duels or local area duels. You know, like kind of how we done in the past. Maybe make like an area duels. You know, tournament series where you know, you wrestle for South Florida, they wrestle Central, or if we could clubs, you know, but get, you know, like what I'm looking at is trying to get these kids, our core freestyle guys, you know, it'd be great if they could get 20 freestyle matches in before next freestyle season, just to, and Greco too, you know, like, I'm not a Greco guy, I like the foot sweep, but I don't want to forget about Greco either.
Yeah.
Sean Sheldon will be on me. I forget about talking about Greco, but you know, but no, these guys need experience. They need matches, especially if we're going to compete, you know, nationally. If if and when, you know, like we get the green light to do so, whether that's this year or next year, you know, anybody out there has any ideas or can pull the trigger on it, please reach out to me. Let me know, you know, and take it to we got some great people in our organization trying to come up with ideas, but we're definitely open-minded about it.
So
Yeah. What is your position, Steve? What is your actual title at FAWA right now? State
I'm
chairman
the
or?
Yeah, I'm the state chairman
Nice.
for the organization, which really means, you know, like, you know how it works. There's a board.
Yep.
So basically, I'm the chairman, and I can reside over the meetings. I really don't vote. The board votes. We can present stuff, and we can make committees and stuff like that. And we're at the point now where we have some really great people involved, and
Good.
you know, you know, I feel like we could. I feel like we were chomping at the bit before this thing hit. We had some great ideas in the works and some stuff to go on, but when this hit, it kind of stalled us out, like it did a lot of people, you know. So no, we're looking forward to this to figure out. And in the folk style season, I'm sure a lot of coaches are feeling the same way. You know, like what does the state championship look like next year? You know, what is
Right.
what's a big high school wrestling tournament? I guess the knockout.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah. So what does the knockout look like next year? You know, like, you know,
would you, well, I've talked to some high school coaches, and they also have clubs that are around your area, Broward County, Dade County, Palm Beach County, you know, the South Florida area there. And a lot of them aren't going to have a club to train their kids in because the high schools aren't going to allow anybody in there probably through the summer. So are there a lot of, yourself included, clubs in the area that are off of high school grounds that would welcome these coaches to bring their kids in and give them a place to train?
And to tell you the truth, a lot of the clubs in this area, or any club in the area that's affiliated with a high school that doesn't have a place to train, I mean, they'd be more than welcome in our facility as soon as we get the green light with our, like right now we can't hold practices because we're not covered,
Right.
But as soon as we, the USA Wrestling or our insurance provider can cover us, we'll be having practices,
And that's good for people to hear. That's why I wanted to ask. And then, so back to wrestling. So you've won on every level, and pretty cool. So talk about the experience of being a state champ, a high school state or national champ, a college national champ, and then actually being at the Olympics and experiencing that. What are some moments that are the most memorable for you? Maybe matches, experiences at each level?
I think, like a lot, I was lucky enough to wrestle with a lot of good coaches, even in high school, college, even after college. The most memorable times I've had wrestling, I think, is, I've had some really great matches, but the ones that really stick with you are the ones that you kind of fell short on,
That's
those are the matches
that's what
that kind of
Nordstrom said.
Nordstrom said it. Everybody. I talked to Scotty Sentes at Campbell. He went 215-3 in high school, and I said, "What do you remember the most?" He says, "Those damn 3."
Yeah, man, I think that those build you. Those build you leading. That's how you win every match. It's really hard to stay.
Yeah.
To stay at that level. But
what was your record in high school, Steve? What was your record? Your high school record? Do you remember?
Man, I don't remember. I know I had one loss.
That was it. Just one. Who was it to?
It was to a kid from New York in a dual meet.
Do you remember his name?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, but you see, he doesn't remember how many he won, but he knows that one he lost.
Yeah. Did that kid ever wind up?
Too, man. We got into a full scramble. It was a big kid, and I was a young heavyweight freshman, but he was a senior. Played football in college. We got into a scramble. My team also, we were down by 5. I went for a throw, like a kind of a trip, but belly to belly, and then he kind of big birded on me,
Yeah. So he didn't wrestle in college. He went on to play football.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I didn't mean to cut you off and ask your record. So you were talking about you remember just kind of the losses. So I guess
I mean those
what would you, and then what would you
right?
tell a young kid that is coming up in wrestling what it was like to wear that USA uniform and walk through that parade and present, wear our colors around the world? I mean, that's, to any kid that is living this dream, that's got to be the pinnacle.
Yeah, I mean, when you're going through it's you're focused on the tournament and you're focused on your matches, and then since I was younger, I wanted to wrestle there and I wanted to win it, and then after the event, it was kind of anticlimactic for me, like I kind of fell a little short, and but the more time that comes back now and looking at pictures and hanging out, it's a great memory. But every level of wrestling, I think, like the relationships you build along the way, kind of like you build like real good friendships, whether it's high school, college, youth.
Yeah.
I'm in friends with a lot. I've stayed in contact with a lot of the guys, and we're real tight. And it's a weird thing. Like, even if you don't get along with them necessarily, you'll be pretty good friends with them later on. Like, you don't see that in other sports, and you don't see that kind of in everyday life. You have someone that you have nothing in common with, but you went through a hard season together. You trained every day, you drilled every day, the whole year. You kind of got like a real friend there. You're probably not going to hang out with him that much, but if he called you and needed something, you'd be there for them. You know, those are really good memories that.
Go ahead, Ricky. Why don't you take us home through this conversation? I know you got to be in work at 10.
Yeah, I got a meeting in like 3 or 4 minutes. So, all right, Steve, I'm going to hit you with the 10 questions. We do this with every guest we have on the show. It's I'm going to ask you 10 questions in 10 seconds. It's just a one-word answer. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Folk style or freestyle?
Folk style.
Headgear or no headgear?
No headgear.
Singlet or two-piece?
Singlet.
Ice cream cake or birthday cake?
Birthday cake.
Wow. Saltwater or freshwater?
Saltwater.
Rap or country?
Country.
Car or pickup truck?
Pickup truck.
Popeyes or Chick-fil-A?
Popeyes.
Ocean or swimming pool?
Ocean.
All right, and here's our newest question. Saturday night or Sunday afternoon?
Sunday afternoon.
I got
Nice.
one. The
What's that?
octagon or the circle?
What's that?
The octagon or the mat?
The mat.
There you go.
Yeah,
Awesome.
man.
Steve, thank you so much for coming
No
on and being
problem.
a guest. We really loved having you. Everybody that I talk to just loves having Steve Mocco in the state of Florida. We feel so fortunate and so lucky to have you. Not only are you a great coach, but just a great person with a great family, and we just love you, man.
Thanks, Ricky.
Yeah, man, and
I appreciate having me on.
we welcome any of your wrestlers, fighters, team members want to get their voice out there and get on here. Just please share my link with them. Let them know we're here anytime.
All right, right on, man. Thanks
All
again.
right, guys. Have a great day, Steve.
Take it easy, guys.
All right, bye-bye.